What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So after a pretty below average first round, and the second round was definitely an improvement, but still not that fantastic, we have one of the most entertaining conference finals, both matchups that I've seen in recent memory in terms of Dallas versus Edmonton and then New York versus Florida. Dallas up 2-1 right now, New York up 2-1, unfortunately, right now. If you ask me who's going to win the next game, I think that's probably going to be tied 2-2 in both series heading into game 5. But it's been fantastic. It has been fantastic. And I'll probably, after these game 4s, especially if it's tied 2-2, maybe dive more so into the team aspects. But with these game 3s being in the books, I wanted to look at some of the most surprising players in terms of bottom of the lineup or middle of the lineup guys that have far exceeded expectations and have been massive for their team thus far in this third round, as well as some other guys that are the star players that have not really shown up for their team thus far. So let's dive into it. Let's get into it. Let's look at some of the biggest surprises and 3 of the biggest disappointments in the third round thus far. And the number one surprise right now, and maybe of the entire playoffs, has been Barclay Goodrow, especially of late. 3 goals in 3 games. This guy was hated, making $3.6 million for, I think, the next 3 or 4 seasons after this. He had I think he had 15 or 16 points this season. Disastrous contract. Every single Ranger fan, if you asked them who, in terms of their on-ice cap hit and play, who was their least favorite Ranger, he's a great guy, don't get me wrong, but they would say Barclay Goodrow. They say that he was just an absolute waste of space out there. But yeah, now 3 goals in 3 games in these conference finals, 3 in his last 2. OT winner in game 2, where the Rangers, no shit, needed that game considering they lost game 1. They could not go down 2-0 heading back to Sunrise. A fantastic, just rifle of a shot by Barclay Goodrow. No one saw it coming. And then in game 3, he was fantastic for the New York Rangers. He gets the tip in the first period for them to go up 2-1, and then a massive shorthanded goal in that second period. It was 3-2. Florida on the power play. You think, oh, Florida's going to tie it up here. No, Barclay Goodrow finds the open lane for him to get the pass from Vincent Trocheck, rifles it home 4-2 instead of 3-3. Massive for them in game 3. You look at him, he's been a +3 in these conference finals, and especially in that game 3, he led all Rangers and all players in the entire game in terms of expected goals percentage at 5-on-5 with 78%. So when looking at him, if Barclay Goodrow's cooking like that, we're going to talk about another Ranger in the disappointing section, but when Barclay Goodrow's elevating his game like he has thus far in these conference finals, that is massive for the New York Rangers, considering their bottom 6 wasn't really a weakness overall, but I think against the Florida Panthers, we thought that that Florida would have the advantage in terms of the bottom 6. But when Barclay Goodrow is playing like this, not only at 5-on-5, but especially on the penalty kill, he's been a pretty big part of their penalty kill that has been one of the best in the regular season, in the playoffs at this point. Barclay Goodrow has been massive for the New York Rangers. Now, when looking at one of the disappointing, you could pick either player here. I'm only going to go with one. We're sticking with the New York Rangers, but it's Kreider and Zibanejad. I'm going to go with Chris Kreider on this, just because you expected after Game 6 of the Carolina Hurricanes, he had all the momentum in the world. Third period, natural hat trick. Hasn't been the case in this conference finals thus far. A 0-0-0 stat line as of right now with a -3. You look at him in terms of that game 3, Barclay Goodrow balled out, 78% expected goals percentage. Chris Kreider was worst in the entire game, worst on the New York Rangers at 8.52%. I think it was 1.1 expected goals against on the ice for versus 0.1 goals for. So when looking at him in the New York Rangers, although they're up 2-1, it has mainly just been Igor Shesterkin stealing that game 3, and then the Trocheck, Panarin, and Lafreniere line, especially Lafreniere, they have really been carrying the Rangers at 5-on-5, as well as that third line being pretty solid. It has not been Zibanejad and Kreider. They need to step up in a big way, because although, again, they are up 2-1, but if they're going to win this series, the Kreider and Zibanejad line have to be very good in at least 2 of the games that they have to win in order to close out this series. He needs to be better, and it is with Zibanejad. It's not just Chris Kreider, and Zibanejad's playing good. It's both of them are scoreless right now, and it's amazing that they're up 2-1. And despite that happening, if you told me the first 2 games Kreider and Zibanejad are scoreless, I'd say, oh, Rangers are down 2-1, maybe even down 3-0. That's not the case, thankfully, and I think Kreider and Zibanejad can play far better than they are right now, but right now it's been simply unacceptable, and it's been very disappointing for the New York Rangers. Next up, a surprising player, Connor Brown. I've been impressed with Connor Brown. Similarly to Barclay Goodrow, this guy has been heavily criticized because he signed that 1 year, $4 million deal, but it was structured where there's only like a $750,000 or $775,000 cap hit this season. But next season, when he's not even under contract with the team, there's a $3.225 million cap hit that they just straight up cannot spend. So during this regular season, he didn't have a goal for his first like 40 games. It was a utter disaster, but he has actually been pretty solid for them in these playoffs, and especially in this series against Dallas. Even though they are down 2-1, he has 1 goal, 1 assist thus far, and mainly for me, it's been more so the defensive game, especially on the penalty kill. Dallas has not scored on the power play thus far, and Brown has been a decent reason why of that. He has been that third line, maybe even more so third line, not really second line. He hasn't really got too many looks in the second line, but that third line two-way player that you expected when you signed to Connor Brown. It hasn't happened in the season, but considering it's happened in the playoffs, who really cares about the regular season? If Edmonton goes on to make the Stanley Cup final or win the Stanley Cup and Connor Brown's playing the way that he is, so be it with that $3.2 million cap hit. So, and especially when you consider that Corey Perry has not really lived up to expectations, Connor Brown has kind of filled up that gap when we thought that he was just a fourth line bum. I've been very impressed and surprised by the play of Connor Brown thus far. In terms of disappointing on the Edmonton Oilers, I got Darnell Nurse, and I know he always gets criticized, but he has been just straight up horrendous. Like I did not have that much expectations. I said that he was my X factor for this series because he could either be okay or horrible. He has been fully horrible. 0 points, but you don't really expect that much offense from Darnell Nurse. A -2 as of right now, as well as taking just 2 very stupid penalties. Thus far, although Dallas has not converted on those penalties, still, it has not been good for Darnell Nurse. His decision-making has been horrible. His positioning has been horrible for the Edmonton Oilers. It's bad. It's bad. Previously, I've said that he's just overhated because he gets $9.25 million. He's a $4 to $5 million guy just making double that. No, in this series, he has been straight up unplayable at points. So I'm off to Darnell Nurse. I'm not the defend train, I guess, but like I'm done. Not a good player. Bad. I don't know how they're going to move off that contract. Buying it out is a disaster. If you watched a previous video on me talking about the Oilers buying him out, it's wild. The buyout of him is wild. But at this point, maybe they have to do something like that because he is just bad for the Oilers right now. In terms of the last guy that has surprised me, Jamie Benn. Jamie Benn, although he's not on the same level as Goodrow and Brown, but he has been fantastic for the Dallas Stars. After last year in the conference finals, kind of costing them a game, and then he got suspended after with that Mark Stone cross-check while Mark Stone was on the ground. Really despicable, dirty play. Could have seriously messed up Mark Stone's neck, and as a result, he got suspended after that. Dallas would go on to lose the series. He's been huge for them. 1 goal, 4 assists, 3 of those being primary assists right now. He's been up and down the lineup throughout the series against the Edmonton Oilers, playing with the young guys, playing with the more experienced guys. He has just known his role as that physical two-way power forward. It has been very impressive to watch Jamie Benn channel his 2014 to 2016 self. He has been dominating possession, really tossing around the Edmonton Oilers, and especially in the face-off. With face-offs, he's been fantastic overall in these playoffs. 64% face-off percentage right now, and you look at it in Game 3 when they were up 4-3, defensive zone draw, goalie pulled for Edmonton. He wins it back to Miro Heiskanen. Miro Heiskanen rifles it down the ice. Game over. Jamie Benn has been so consistent and so good for the Dallas Stars in this series and has been a massive reason why they are now up 2-1 in that series. And then my last most disappointing, Leon Draisaitl, 1 goal, 0 assists in 3 games thus far. And I'm not trying to say he's a playoff choker. No shit. He is the reason why they're even in this spot against Dallas right now, considering he had 3 goals, 11 assists, 14 points in 7 games against the Vancouver Canucks. But in this series, he's been disappointing. He's been very disappointing. You look at him, a -2. The power play is they haven't scored on the goddamn power play. That is their bread and butter, and Draisaitl is the go-to guy. He's not been able to finish that much on the power play. And in terms of his 5-on-5 play, actually in Game 1, he was pretty solid, 68.6% expected goals percentage at 5-on-5. Then Game 2, 60%, and then in Game 3, 47%. So his 5-on-5 play has been decreasing each game. And when looking at him, although, yes, he doesn't like McDavid plays with Hyman and RNH. He has a way easier job. Draisaitl still needs to drive his own line, even though he's playing with like Holloway and Kane. I need more out of Leon Draisaitl, especially 5-on-5 and even on the power play, considering they cannot convert right now. And we saw this last year when the Oilers got eliminated. Draisaitl kind of went invisible after having a 4-goal game in game 1 against Vegas, then 2 goals in the next game. From game 3 to 6, he only had 1 assist in the final 4 games of that series. Once Vegas started to get really physical with him, Pietrangelo sloshed him in the goddamn hands, but Dallas is kind of giving him the same treatment, and as a result, they have been able to kind of slow down Leon Draisaitl. If Edmonton is going to win this series, no shit, Leon Draisaitl cannot be having 1 point in 3 games. He's going to have to take over in game 4. That power play is going to have to start cooking, and also it's the fact that they haven't had them many opportunities. I think they've had like 5 or 6 power play opportunities. Dallas has played physical, but has been played very smart in terms of their physical play. They have not been taking dumb penalties, and as a result, Leon Draisaitl has not been able to dominate on the power play. But I need more at 5-on-5. I do need more at 5-on-5, and if he does not step up, the Edmonton Oilers are probably going to lose in 6 games. But yeah, those are my 3, I guess 4 technically for disappointing if you count Mika Zibanejad. But those are my 3 most surprising and disappointing players in the 3rd round thus far. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? I just cannot wait to watch this Rangers versus Panthers game. Hopefully the Panthers win, but this 3rd round has been fantastic. It's made up for a kind of a lackluster 1st round, in my opinion. But let me know in the comments, what do you think about this? I'll be seeing the next one.